It's the Five Stones Radio Show with your hosts, Raymond the Real Estate Monkey Modulin and Colin Hedegaard. Sit back, relax, try to survive. Here comes the Five Stones Radio Show.
And we begin.
Guten Tag.
So welcome to Five Stones Radio, the podcast version.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, that is what
Yes.
it is.
If you joined us last week, you remember we were still talking about branding it, and we're still talking about branding it. Which brings us to the topic today of how do you build a business? Building a business from the onset. Now, clarify that we're actually going to talk about a service-oriented business rather than a product-oriented. So we're not going today about buying products from China and reselling or building products where we need intensive labor and things of that nature. More of a service-oriented business such as mortgage companies, real estate companies, insurance companies, money manager kind of service-oriented businesses.
Yes.
Coaching. I am looking at a new venture to start that I believe will be, everybody likes to think they're going to be the new disruptor. But I honestly believe this business will be a disruption in the real estate industry.
Which we've been looking for is a disruption.
I think we may have found something, and ironically, I don't want to get into it too much because of the sensitivity, but the 4 or 5 people that have been naysayers have all said, well, that's not how it works, or that's not how I've done it, or that's not how it's done.
Which is what you want them to say.
Which is actually what we're looking for in a disruption business. That you're right. That's not how it's done. This is a new method that I think can be done now because of a third-party technology company that now exists that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Things change, yes.
You know, medical records used to be hand-carried until they invented a fax machine.
Well, and even in ours, people, I always printed stuff off and put it in a binder and had to go get a wet signature. And when we made the switch over to doing everything digitally, someone was like, well, I've never done it that way before.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
But this is going to be a big jump in change of the way that people think. But with that being said, the point I was getting at is the naming of this business actually came about by me looking for the website to see if that website was available first before I...
So that will affect the name as the availability.
Yes. So rather than picking a name and going, let's get the website for it, now with the preponderance of all the websites that are out there, you're actually looking to see if that website name is available before you go, that's the name.
So in this new venture, will consumers go to the website?
Yes.
To do things or just to validate you?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, let's say I'm about to buy something and I say, I better go check out, make sure.
No.
It'll be a functional page.
Yes.
It won't be
The
just a
actual
splash.
transaction will be done on the site.
Okay.
So it's not...
So you need a good site and a good URL in that case. I guess the point I was fishing for is that if it's just something where they can go check me out, I can send them a link to any website and they'll just click it. And
Yeah, I guess what I hear is it's not like LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn to validate my college degrees, my companies, and things like that.
Right.
I don't actually transact business on LinkedIn. This site will actually do the transaction that I'm thinking about. So it will be a very robust website and probably will be to the tune of $20,000 to $50,000 in theory, if it
because of the complications involved.
Because of the complications involved,
Systems, yeah.
right? But it will be a new methodology, I believe, in the real estate world.
I'm fascinated and I can't wait to hear more about it when it starts to
Yeah.
happen.
Well, when it makes its first billion, I'll let you know.
All right. I'll probably know when I see you rolling around the Bugatti waving at me as you drive past the office.
I don't know if I'd roll in a Bugatti, but I would roll in a Bentley. I'm way too old for a Bugatti.
Driver.
Yeah, Bentley with a driver. Actually, a driver would be my first thing that I would love to have. My commute is about 50 minutes a day. You realize that's 10 hours a week that I could be making phone calls.
And I understand that, but I don't know that I will ever be willing to give up the control to
Of
you know,
driving?
Yeah, I like to drive. I like to be in control of my vehicle.
Plus, no one's a better driver than I, so why would I delegate?
Well, ironically, that's why Joe drives us everywhere
Yeah.
when we go. And I like to be in the passenger seat or preferably where I can make a phone call.
See, what I want is I want to scribe. I want to drive, and I want someone sitting next to me that when I come up with something, they write everything down. I don't want to be.
Was it Brewster's Millions? He had the guy that repeated things that he said.
Yes.
Yeah. That movie would have been a whole lot shorter because I'd have paid the catcher $300 million to play catch with me for an hour, and I'm done. I'm out. So,
John Candy.
but building that business does require, and I think one of the things that a good entrepreneurial person would think is, I already know I can't do all of it. So a lot of it's going to be farmed out. And the cool thing is, if you're really good, you could farm out everything and have the ability to go, okay, you're the web guy, you're the marketing guy, you're this guy, you're the money guy, and I put them all together to build a business.
But that's also the positive of this not being your first business. You
Yes.
have trialed and errored through all kinds of different iterations so that now you kind of know what you have to look
Emphasize the word error.
for. Well, there's
Best
Yeah.
teacher out there.
So, another thought comes to mind. Is this a business that you have to dump all this capital in before you can see if it's viable? Or is there a way to...
I think
ask?
that there is some capital that's going to be front loaded, but it will not be automated. You can probably proof of concept manually the first couple hundred. And then once that proof of concept, then you could find a way to automate it. So no, you won't have to dump 150 or 50,000 into it, but you're going to dump probably 4 or 5
Yeah.
and manually do the back end work through a combination of different websites that you could cobble together. And then once that system has proven that from the sale to the close works, you could then automate most of that through a lot of different softwares.
I grew up non-entrepreneurial, as you know, and my original feelings about a business was that you had to get an office, build it out, get a product, buy a bunch of suits, do the law stuff, set everything up, build a website, then open your doors and see what happens.
Yeah.
And those days are over.
I think those days are over. Half of what you just said can now be done on this or one of those.
Yeah.
You know, half of that, you no longer need the physical presence.
Is anything even needed until you get paid $1? Do you even need to have an LLC or any of those things? Or
I would think that's going to be part of that initial setup.
and that's just $100. But
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you
making
can do
a
it fairly inexpensive. I've got several LLCs. I've got an attorney that has created a platform for me that I can, for a smaller fee, now go in and issue all the stocks and do all of that fairly simple now, only because of, like Joe saying, past companies that have been created.
And some kind of online presence is needed for the validation. And I'm going through this myself with the coaching. The modern world, when you make a pitch to them, they say, okay, let me do a little due diligence. And that's only a few minutes of Googling.
Yeah.
But they're going to want to see something.
Yeah, you do have to, and maybe it's like a snowball. After 22 years in the business, it's easy to validate my background and go, oh, well, yeah, he's got 20. But when you're 2 years in the business, it may be a little harder. Unfortunately, it's still just as important for that second year person to get validated. So as you become more experienced, it becomes easier.
Sure.
You know, because you have the history of the background, and if you Googled my name, the first 27 things come up, and I'll bet you 27 of them are different. You know, you get LinkedIn profiles, you've got Facebook profiles, I've got 2 or 3 company profiles.
OnlyFans page.
Yeah, my OnlyFans page. Hey, $20 is $20, man.
Difference is they pay you to put clothes on.
Yeah, whatever works, dude. Whatever works.
Well, that's good. I'm excited to watch this unfold. I think we talk about businesses all the time, and we have dabbled in a number of different ones. So,
Well, I mean, you're in the process right now of launching the coaching, and I mean, I noticed the growth just today when you were talking to our office manager about the marketing funnel that you did not have 2 months ago.
yes.
So I meant the immersion of yourself into this coaching led you to a ancillary part that is required, but you have chosen to do it yourself rather than market it out.
Yeah. But now my concern falls on falling in that trap of preparing, and really it needs to be launched, which is what.
You need to pull the trigger.
Yes.
And that date you're going to pull the trigger is when? Let's get this on record.
Friday. How's that?
This Friday?
Yes.
Okay. Look for that.
Friday.
And the website name would be
joinlevelup.com.
Well, you know you've got to do it now.
It's fine.
Because I expect someone out there to go look
I
at
made
that.
this decision before I opened my mouth and talked about the decision.
Oh, you set us up.
No, I set myself up.
The good thing is with your coaching is agnostic enough that allows it to be translated to several different sales fields.
Yeah, and I've been chatting with a couple employees and talking about some things, and I thought of what differentiating things are, and in my whole first month I spent looking at what other people were doing, thinking I'll emulate that.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to be like everybody else. I'm going to be kind of myself, which is going to be a little different. And let's see how it goes.
So building this business, your first step, I just heard you say, was you actually spent time researching competition. Now, was that just to see if there was other competition out there?
It was partly for me to validate that people are paying for the service.
That ultimately where I was going, because
Yeah.
do you want a business that you look for and see nothing out there and go, there's nothing out there?
There's a reason. Does nobody want that?
Yeah.
Or
So
nobody thought of it yet?
there's a key to that, and I think that's the key I was going towards. When you see that there's nothing out there, does that mean that no one has thought of this yet? Or that some people have thought of it, tried it, and it doesn't work?
It could. I mean, there's a business of coming in with something and making a better version of it and competing with the existing.
Yeah.
Or you can come up with something totally new.
And I think that's where the solopreneur gets in trouble. Because I believe every idea I have is the best idea that's ever been hatched. That's not really true, but I think that's what a lot of people think. So they go out there and they see nothing out there and they go, oh, I'm the smartest guy alive. I'm the first one that thought of that. I'm going to tell you right now at about an 80% chance, no, you're not.
Well, and the other part is you're going to have your invention, which is the thing you love and all that, but running a business is a separate thing in itself.
I mean, I literally, you guys both said this I said this to both of you today about my business. Why has no one thought of this? I said, that scares me that no one's thought of this, because I have come to the realization, believe it or not, I am not the smartest guy in the world. But to see that no one's doing this is the one stick in my back of my mind that makes me wonder, why has no one tried this concept yet?
Till Elon Musk dies, you're the smartest.
Well, yeah. till Elon Musk goes.
No, that's true. I have those feelings, so I wanted to see if it was really happening because I was talking to some professionals. They're saying this is real. X amount of money is possible. It's hard to believe.
So,
I went online and it is true.
so in this field, there is validation of the concept that people do pay for coaching of some sort.
Yes, and then the next couple of weeks I was engulfed in learning the talent of building an offer that is both attractive and has a value and what the modern person wants to see. And I've been doing that naturally when I meet with realtors and employees and things and selling the business and hiring. And
So would you not say that's a marketing
it is,
aspect?
yeah, building the offer is a marketing aspect, but it's different for me to, after 15 years of mortgage, call someone, set an appointment with a realtor, and they say yes, and I go have coffee and knock it out of the park. That's one thing. Getting it onto a web page so that a stranger in a different place can
Gets to
accept that
Yeah.
as a validation, that is a different game. So I'm having to rework my mind, but the whole goal is to take 23 years of building things, put it into a condensed version where somebody with technology can ramp up in a matter of a couple months. And take what I've took 23 years, taken 23
So
years.
do you think it's harder now in today's climate to get a business known or easier because of the internet?
Far easier, I think.
Far easier? I'm going to take the opposite approach. I think it's far harder because now there is so much noise that is competing for a person's attention and their wallet that you have to somehow be, and I'm going to use the word spectacular. You have to not be common. You have to stand out in that crowd, and therefore I think it's harder actually. I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if someone said I wanted a real estate coach, they would have asked one person and said, hey, do you have a coach? Who is it? And they'd have went to that person. Now you Google real estate coach, there are 16,000 pages that come up on Google, and you've got to be somehow.
I think it depends on what you consider easy. I don't think anything ever gets easier. It's easier for people to access. It's more complex to get it out. I think people can access information and find a Colin easier because of it. It is more difficult for Colin to get the marketing out there enough to be present. Presence is difficult, ease to use is there.
I think we're all right because you're right about that fact. But that simply says instead of talking to 2 people to get a sale, you need to talk to 1,000 online. And we looked at those clicks today, 62,000 impressions. That would have taken a career for somebody to do.
Yeah.
Before the internet.
Yeah, that.
So just the fact that I had to talk to 60,000 people online. But what did you have to do to generate that? You had to pay $400, buy a Google ad, and spit it out into the world.
The good thing is, and like you, I've done some learning over the last couple of weeks, specifically on Google AdWords. 62,000 impressions generated 90 clicks to the school. So I can't remember, but it was only a 0.89%.
Yes.
But if you think if I had 90 sales, at $500 a sale, it's not bad.
And you created an ad, paid a few $100,
Yeah.
put it out in the world and got that. So that work was easier than going to meet with 90 people
Yeah.
and closing 90.
Yeah, I couldn't have met with 90 people in the last month.
In gas money, you just spent more than what you spent
I
on
mean,
Google.
yeah, the what you saw, what was the cost per click?
$2.80.
$2.80. So $3, 90 clicks, $270 generated $4,500 worth of income.
So it's both harder and easier. The The hard part is building the offer that catches eyes, gets to click through.
That turns 90 clicks into 200 clicks.
It's the complexity that is harder. It is much more complex. No, I mean, what makes it more difficult is
I
it's
know
more
what you mean. It
complex.
just sounded funny.
I know.
Complexity is hard.
It is. I mean, and that is where the difficulty comes in. It's content is difficult, but once you understand what you're doing and you have content and you know what you're going to do, that is handled. The complexity comes in with how you get it out there to people because word of mouth doesn't happen like it did.
The other thing is now there are so many platforms.
Yeah.
Which platform is the best for your business? That is very crucial. And I think that also, I mean, we can play this whole circle game. What target market are you going for? If you're going for that 18 to 22-year-old, backpacker that loves the outdoors, Facebook is not where you're going to want to be.
Nope.
You're going to want to be more.
TikTok,
TikTok. If you're going for the 70-year-old mall walker that wants to buy new tennis shoes, Facebook is an older generation. At least the kids tell me that. My kids tell me that. Dad, why are you still on that?
All my old friends are on it.
4 of my 6 kids aren't even on Facebook.
Yeah. So it is complex to figure all this stuff out and figure out the secret sauce digitally.
Yeah.
I'm used to having people come into my desk for 15 years and sit across the desk, and that was my talent. And now nobody wants to sit across the desk, so I have to figure it out a different way.
Left one over there.
A good friend of mine made a comment, and I'm just thinking about it right now. When the market is tough, maybe the current real estate market is a little slower, is a time to immerse yourself in learning and bettering yourself. And you still have to work twice as hard to survive, but also it's a time to immerse yourself in preparing for when things change back.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, about growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. What's the market going to look like next year? Am I going to be positioned next year? That has to be looked at this year. Where were we at? Oh, at United with Matt Ishbia.
Yeah.
When he was talking about making plans, he said, it's not this year's plans I'm making. I'm making next year's plans.
Yeah.
This year's plans were made last year.
They're just getting implemented now.
Yeah. So part of that next year's plan might be learning a new platform, learning a new skill that you see is going to be imperative. But for those that are starting out, you can go one or two ways. And I actually thought you were going to ask me this question. If you're looking to build that original business like I am that's going to scale, it has to scale to be successful. So it's going to have to be built on more than me doing the back end work. It's got to be designed with systems in place, software in place, legal issues that may have a growth component, because I want to build something that is not a lifetime, and we've talked about lifestyle businesses versus scaling. I am looking at building a scaling business that will only work if it's in 50 states.
As technologies change, I watched there's a guy that reviews cars online that I like, Doug DeMuro is his name, and he got interviewed about the business of YouTube, which I thought was interesting. And when he started as an automobile writer, he was writing articles about cars for the magazines, and then he was writing them for the website. Well, then he got the videos, and all the people that were in the magazine writing business said, "Oh, this is crap. YouTube videos, bogus. Nobody's going to watch." Now he's got 4 or 5 million people, but he took that experience and he said, "This isn't going to last forever." And now he says YouTubers are struggling with people TikTok making 45-second videos about car reviews.
Yeah.
And they get 10 times the views that the YouTube gets of the same car, because that's the change in technology. So he's also looking ahead, like, this isn't going to last forever. Technology change and people's habits change.
Pretty soon when you write it, it will just be implanted directly into your follower's head.
That sounds great. I hope I'm the one that they pick for the implant.
In the implant chimp in your head.
That's where you got to be on the government's short list.
Trunk monkey.
While we're here, though, I do want to say that this show is sponsored by Five Stones Mortgage. And if you're looking to buy or refinance your current home, if you go to fivestonesmortgage.com, you can either click the apply now and they'll be done in what? 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Yeah, the
Or,
application's quick.
or call Colin and he can walk you through the process. So check that out at fivestonesmortgage.com. And if you're looking to buy or refinance her house, which, to change that subject, just did the statistics yesterday. We are still in a seller's market. So if you're out there as of May 2023 thinking that you're in a problem, you're really not. I mean, house prices are still going up. We sold 989 properties in the central Indiana area and only listed 1,146.
So they're still all selling.
Yeah, so there's only 5 weeks of inventory out there. So the
we went from
inventory,
nuts to really good market.
yeah, that's the problem. Everybody was so used to being in a berserk market that when we're in a good market, they think the sky is falling.
Well, and there's still some berserk out there. I mean, I just took an offer on a property that I listed for $15,000 over asking. So it's still happening
In how many hours?
in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still happening out there.
Yeah, all the statistics, when you do the math, will show you that we are in a seller's market still, and we're not even close
To swing the other way.
to a neutral market.
What's normal, 5 or 6 months of inventory?
Yeah, when you get into that 4.5 to 5 months, you start hitting that neutral market. You start getting over 7 months. Now you're in a buyer's market. We're at 1.4 months, so 6 weeks.
So if somebody's home thinking they're going to wait and prices are going to come down, they're just wrong about
Yeah.
that.
So what that's saying is, if we did not list another house, we would sell all of the houses currently on the market in 6 weeks. So that tells you the velocity at which they're going. All right, so let's go back to the business thing. So starting the business, the first thing I looked at was names, because I could make any name work as long as the website was available. I think that's a big change in dynamics. Years ago, 30 years ago, they were trying to come up with a name, and then because the website wasn't around.
What will you do next?
The next thing I am going to do is actually take that name and go through the legal process of getting it licensed and recorded with the state. So the second thing I think you should do is get it recorded through the state. If you're brand new and you've never done that, I'm going to tell you now, spend the $600, $700, $800 to have an attorney do it for you the right way. People cheap out, and you can. Online, $95, create that. Works great until it doesn't work. And you get sued the first time, and the judge goes, where's your articles of organization? Where's your meeting minutes? Do you have shares? And you go, and now you're in trouble. So if you're looking to really be serious, I would suggest you spend the money to have the attorney do the paperwork properly. Yes, more money. Yes, maybe more time, but definitely the right way. Now, if you do it correctly with your attorney, you might be able to say, can I use this template for my second or third business? And it may be entirely possible that you can just swap out names and follow, creating the articles of organization and printing out stock certificates and all that on your second one.
Just substitute in the new name and
Yes, just substitute in the new name and the pertinent information. That's, I think, is acceptable. But that first one, you better go through the process and do it right. So that's the second thing I'm going to do. The third thing then is actually build the website and the technology slightly. Meaning I'm not going to incorporate all of the back-end stuff that I think I can do by hand, which may be tedious on the first couple dozen deals. But if I can prove it works, then I can spend the money.
so a framework, build a
Yeah,
framework. And
build the framework. So in my order was one was create the name or validate the name, make it legal so that you can protect the name, and then work on the technology that's needed. And I think that's kind of the similar thing. I mean, you came up with the name. You told me, join Level Up months ago. So you kind of followed the same process.
Yeah.
And all we do now is wait for your technology to be available Friday,
Yes,
May the 12th.
that's right. Parts of it are available.
What do
I'm
you think?
excited. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. I'm excited about this as well because
This is a real disruptor.
yeah,
I'm just getting in there to throw my ring in the mix to help people that don't work for me.
The good thing is, I think yours is going to work no matter what.
I think it will work. Yes.
Mine will either work
we're crashing burn.
or crash and burn.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a reward if it works.
If it works, I think the reward could be high. If it doesn't, what was it that Edison said? I only found another way in which it won't work
That's right.
after I spend the money.
1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah,
It still won't be the most amount of money you've thrown down a hole on something. So
shut up.
In the modern world of spin, you could almost use the attempt as a marketing tool. Like,
Well-
I tried to.
That's funny. I brought that up with the office manager because he literally asked me, he said, what are your colleagues going to think if this works? And the answer was, does the lion worry about what the sheep think when he goes to sleep at night? But the other side of the coin is I could almost spin it like, hey, I tried something to help you guys. I found out this avenue doesn't work. You have got to make that avenue work then. So theoretically, yes, I might be able to even spin it if it doesn't
I
work
think so.
to make it a good thing by validating, okay, that idea won't work because I've tried it. I've
so
been
you
down
get
that
to
road.
be best of both worlds. You either are the lion or you're the sacrificial lamb.
One of the two.
And they might love you more if it fails. They might hate you if it works.
Does the lion worry about what the sheep think when he goes
No,
to
but
sleep?
They may hate him, but he'll be counting his stacks of cash.
I'll be sleeping good.
Scrooge
on my-
McDuck swimming in his.
Every time I see Phil Hellmuth complaining about the other guy, I laugh because that guy's just, oh yeah, that was a bad choice.
Yeah, as he
Stacks
rakes
up
in the
amount
chips.
of-
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I did that.
It was a bad mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows how to do this.
I think that's the procedure I'm going to follow. Once again, that's the service oriented, not making widgets. That's
Well,
something I don't know.
And the
Did you write
one
a business
thing-
plan?
I did not write a business
I
plan.
say that jokingly
Yeah.
because that was the old school thought.
That's actually a good point because I think I think a business plan's point was only to actually make a person think about what they were doing.
Well, that was also prevalent in a time where you didn't have all of the technology and stuff we deal with now either. When the business plan surrounded, sitting down face to face with people a lot,
It's like a fisherman making a plan. Here's what I'm going to do, and then he goes to that spot and the wind's blowing and the fish don't bite or whatever.
Yeah, then you got to change direction, change lures,
Good
change.
thing you had a plan and spent 4 days writing all that down.
Yeah. Well, part of that also, I will tell you, comes from the experience of, like Joe said, I've been down the road of this several times. I know at least I think I know where it's going to go wrong. The initial onset of the name generation, the legal protection, and the technology needed, I don't really need a plan for because it is now the same concept that I use for the Real University. It's the same one we use for the Modulin Group, the Cigar Club, the hair salon, all of that. It's when you get to that point where execution or the marketing, because the marketing for a hair salon is way different than a marketing for a cigar club. Different target market, different demographics.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where the problem's going to be. How do I get this new concept to people in Oregon and Maine? That's where the large bulk of probably Google AdWords and Facebook and Reddit, paid
Instagram,
ads.
TikTok.
Not TikTok, I will not be dancing. YouTube, those kind of ads are going to be the important part, which now does allow smaller businesses to scale. I mean, if you think about Sears literally had to have a guy go out to another city, find a spot, negotiate the purchase of the land, build the building, and then finance the building and put all the stuff in it, and then see if sales worked. You know, we have the capability now of doing small little test runs.
Oh yeah, you can dip your toe in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So therein lies the other problem when we were asking him about how do you get away from the noise? Because in especially service-oriented world, literally a business in the service can be up and running in a few $1,000s. And that's just one more noise person you have to get over or get by when you push my money manager guy. The other 30, I've got to get around them, and they're really not capable. They're just a guy that thought they'd try something with $3,000. And I guess that's what I was talking about, where it becomes harder, because now it's the barrier to entry is so low with technology. You can be up and running in a few $1,000s or even less. And literally, if you shortcut a lot of the crap, probably in about 2 or 3 days.
Yes.
Buy a domain, build the website, incorporate online, which I don't recommend, but you could do all that almost in an evening.
Yeah. Then launch, buy some ads, and boof.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So
It's both good and bad.
yeah, it does create a lot of noise in that industry, whatever vertical you happen to be in, whether it's coaching or real estate or money management or insurance. It's very easy to get started.
Well, the one thing I know we can do is we can follow up with another video for everyone as things progress positively or
Most
negatively.
Likely, most likely
on all
we'll
of it.
get launched here.
You know what? Actually, I was going to say that. You know what we ought to do? Friday, let's be on camera when he pushes the launch button.
I think we should.
All right.
We'll document it.
That way, when
posterity.
he hits launch, we will actually have it on screen.
Sounds good to me.
That'll be kind of cool in a couple of years when you're balling
Here's where I launched.
and you can show them the video. Here's the actual launch. Hit live, go now.
How that interview, I was going to get more into that Doug DeMuro. How that interview came about was the two guys were reviewing businesses, and they actually went to his new business and bought a car. Doug DeMuro started a car auction place. And these two guys bought a car from him, and then in that transaction, they said, hey, we just bought a car from you, and they arranged it a month later, they interviewed the guy. But he built a big audience, and then he said, hey, this isn't going to last forever. He built a second business called carsandbids.com. It's a car auction place where he does weird car auctions.
Yeah.
And now he has an audience, and he funnels them over there.
You know, the funny thing, like I said, the ease of technology now, that car auction business, he literally would have had to have a big lot to store all the cars and a big gallery for people to come in. Now it's just a few $1,000s in technology and some marketing, and now he can get buyers in all 50 states, theoretically in the entire world, to log into his live auction and bid from Italy on a car.
And that couldn't have happened without the internet.
Yeah.
He's connecting the seller with the weird 80s car and the buyer 5 states away.
Yeah.
And overnight, bada bang,
Yep.
they own a car.
Yeah. So I think that's called the marketplace website. The marketplace website is the hardest website to start, honestly, because you are actually creating a venue, but you can't get buyers of a product until you have the sellers of the product, and it's hard to get the sellers of the product until you actually have product on there to sell. So when you start looking at like eBay is a marketplace, Fiverr is a marketplace. Those are the hardest websites to build because are you worried concentrating on the chicken or the egg?
Well, his was brilliant in this aspect, or lucky, whatever you want to call it. He had an audience of 4 million car enthusiasts who both own cool cars, buy and sell cool cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he leveraged the database that he already had
Yep.
to create a product. Oh, if you want to auction one of your cool cars, I've got a product now, and that's going to draw sellers.
Yeah, he made his audience available to all of the rest of the audience.
And I believe I've listened to enough podcasts that most marketplace tend to try and get the buyers first.
I think that's true in the car business. You get a buyer. Let's find the right car. They
Yeah.
Get on get on
Yep.
their database, and we found one in Cincinnati, and we're going to bring it here. Be here
So
tomorrow.
the website I'm looking at creating to some extent is a marketplace, but there's a piece in it that has not been used by anybody else.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I'm not going to tell you what that piece is yet. It's out there.
If it works, it will work.
Yeah. We want to thank you once again for stopping by at Five Stones Radio.
Yep.
I'm your host, Raymond Modulin, a.k.a. the Real Estate Monkey. And the two other hosts with me are...
Joe Trestra, the real estate advocate.
Colin Edgar, the Great Dane.
The Great Dane.
The Great
So,
Dane.
Be back Friday to watch the inaugural...
Easy for him to say. The launch. The launch.
Inaugural?
Inaugural?
I feel like Biden now all of a sudden.
No, you still know your name.
Which way? Over here?
Over here? Where? Huh?
Right around lunch, we will launch.
We will
Yeah.
launch.
We're going to launch for lunch.
It'll be a launch.
Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again.